Hello, my name is Christy Cosina, and for this lesson I will talk about how you can develop presentational skills needed to do well on group projects. These skills are important because when working on projects in future classes and during your employment, you will most likely need to know how to develop and deliver successful multimedia presentations. The objectives for this lesson are developing a multimedia script, developing a multimedia presentation, assessing and selecting appropriate visual aids, and performing practice presentations. The first objective is developing a script. It is very important to do this first before you develop your multimedia presentation and add visual aids. If you have a prepared script on what you want to say based on research, all you need to do is match the multimedia presentation components and the visual aids to what you are talking about. Presentational scripts tend to have the same structure: an opening, a body, a summary, and a closing. The opening is like an introduction in that you will provide your audience with important points of your presentation. This will help your audience understand where you are going when you speak. The body is the meat of your presentation, where you will be talking about the points you introduced in the opening in more detail. The summary is a reintroduction of the main points. Sometimes a question and answer section is after the summary, which gives the audience a chance to find out more information about your topic. If you don't know the answer, be honest and tell your audience that. It is not a good idea to come up with bogus answers, but instead state that you are willing to find the answers later and follow up, or you can direct the questioner to someone else who may know it. A closing generally follows a Q&A section, which summarizes new insights gained from the Q&A section. Sometimes multimedia presentations don't have a Q&A section or a closing and simply end at the summary. However, audience interaction is good for everyone, as it provides a chance for clarification, and who knows, maybe audience members may have some great questions about your topic that you did not consider. In developing a script, you may want to create cues, like stage cues or screenplay cues, that tell you or remind you what to do each step of the presentation. For instance, if I wanted to share a link to a video, I would write in my script, "Share video link," in all red caps or some other format, so that it is distinguishable from the text that I would be saying. I would also break up the text into manageable chunks, so that if I wanted to pause and click to the next slide, I would be reminded to do so if there was a paragraph break. Presentational cues can be whatever you want them to be, as long as they work in reminding you to perform that action. So if a presentational cue does not work, try something else. This is why practice is important, so you can figure out what cues you need to accomplish certain presentational tasks. When the script draft is complete, it is a good idea to reread it and revise it as necessary. You should also practice your script a few times to make sure that everything flows nicely and makes sense. I know I sometimes have trouble saying certain words like synthesis, so you may want to practice any hard to pronounce word choices before doing the final presentation. For more information on developing a script, please read the associated articles in your readings for this lesson. The second objective of this lesson is developing a multimedia presentation. Now that you have a script, the next step is to start working on a way to supplement your speaking words. It will be much easier to develop multimedia components since you now know what you want to talk about. You're welcome to use the presentational tool that you decided to use in the last lesson, or you may use a different one. However, if you decide to use a new presentational tool that you have never worked with before, expect to spend more time trying to figure out the development process for that tool. For instance, if you've never used Camtasia to create a multimedia video, you may want to watch the online tutorials and practice creating a short video first before diving into your multimedia presentation for this course. You would not want to make your work harder by trying to figure out a piece of technology as you are creating your presentation. So at this time, try to stick with the presentational tools that you know. Try to match the multimedia presentation with the tone of your script. If you are trying to develop a professional-looking presentation, it would not be the best idea to have tons of flamboyant bells and whistles. Your multimedia presentation should be developed like an outline, so don't write down your speech word for word. Show key phrases instead and elaborate by talking about it. I generally like to start my multimedia presentations with an introduction slide that displays the topic and who created it. Next, I sometimes create a slide that includes the main points of my presentation. And after that, I include slides that go into more detail. You don't have to make your presentation this way, but it could help your audience stay with you if you tell them what to expect and include an outline of the main points through your presentation. Please read through the associated readings to gain ideas on developing a multimedia presentation. The third objective of Lesson 4 is assessing and selecting appropriate visual aids. Once you have an outline of your multimedia presentation done, it is time to add visual aids. You can also have audio aids too if needed. Since you wrote your script ahead of time and you broke down the script into manageable chunks with slides or screens in a presentation, it may help you come up with ideas for visual aids. Each slide or screen does not necessarily need to have a visual to go with it, but it may help your audience connect with the ideas if there is an associated picture or animation. Just make sure that whatever visual or audio aid that you select is as closely associated as possible. Sometimes people include clip art that only weakly applies and it doesn't add any further understanding of what they are talking about. For instance, if you are talking about a specific piece of artwork, like a Picasso painting, it makes no sense to include a generic image or clip art. You would want to insert and cite an image of the painting that you are talking about. Visual aids don't always need to be in the form of an image, animation, song, or video. If you are presenting face-to-face, you may want to choose to include aids like digital posters, handouts, props, or any concrete audiovisual that can help your audience connect with your ideas. Please read the associated readings to find out more about audiovisual aid strategies. The final objective of Lesson 4 is performing practice presentations. If you do not practice your multimedia presentation, you have an increased chance of something going wrong and stumbling to fix it before moving on. If you do practice, you can figure out areas where you need more practice in order to perform at your expectations. For example, if you want to introduce a visual aid during your presentation that can only be accessed through a complicated procedure online, it may be better to have it already open in a different window for easy access. You do not want to spend several minutes not talking about your topic while you fumble with signing into a website or experience technical difficulties that could have been prevented had you prepared and practiced ahead of time. It is helpful to record any difficulties you have during practice runs so that you can focus your efforts in getting that section right. It is a good idea to have backups of visual aids and your presentation in case you can't access it on Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever website you are trying to retrieve it from. You can save screenshots and other presentational files to the cloud, a USB drive, and or your email address as a backup measure. You may also print out or create physical note cards and visual aids too if somehow the multimedia presentation doesn't work or you forget your words. Whichever way you retrieve your presentational components, try to have everything open and ready to go at a moment's notice. It will speed up and smoothen transitions in your presentation if you have everything ready and you practice making those transitions ahead of time. Teachers may let you present at a later date if you are experiencing technical difficulties. However, you should be prepared to present regardless of technical difficulties and a lack of visual aids. Keep in mind, you prepared a script. Audiovisual aids, including a multimedia presentation, are meant to supplement the words you say. With that in mind, practice, 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 and chances are good that you will do fine. Please read the associated readings to find out more on practicing presentations. So, to close this multimedia presentation, remember, it is important to practice your presentational skills. Develop a script so that you will know what to say and what to include in your multimedia presentation. In developing a multimedia presentation, try creating an outline of your main points. Include specific audiovisual aids that will connect your audience to what you are talking about. Also, practice as time will allow to ensure that your presentation goes as smoothly as possible. Next, please complete the assignment on presentational skills needed in group projects. Participate in the discussion forum for Lesson 4 on presentational tips and strategies. Finally, complete and submit the Check Your Skills for Lesson 4. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact me. Thank you for watching. See you next time.